Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassie, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. And I'm really excited today for this video podcast to be able to talk with a new friend who I met at Victor Wooten's Theory of Music Camp and Spirit of Music Camp same week. And we had some great conversations, and interesting enough, I think, and unique enough that I thought it'd be great if we could just kind of continue this and sort of put it on the record. So I'm pleased to introduce Marshall Thomas, who's coming to us from out in near Denver, Colorado, I guess, right?
Right in Denver, right in the middle of the city. Yep.
Yeah, so that was quite a camp at Wooten Woods about a month ago. And how did you even find out about that? Had you been to some Vic camps before you?
No, I read Victor Wooten's book actually when I was in the Amazon rainforest. I
Whoa.
uh, I got it. I had a Kindle and I was going into the rainforest for 3 weeks, and I bought the book on the Kindle and I started reading it, and I was like amazed by everything.
Absolutely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like I never knew that all that about music in a way, so
Yeah, yeah. And I was lucky because I was just trying to learn music theory and stuff. And my YouTube teacher recommended the book, and I thought it was going to be like a music lesson,
right. Like,
a teaching lesson. And it was like a spiritual novel, basically,
yeah.
uh, mixed in. And I learned so much, and I was very hooked on it right away. And then I didn't really think about Victor Wooten though for a couple years until I was looking for a music camp in nature, and I just Googled music camp in nature, and it was the first thing to show up.
Yeah.
And I looked at who it was from, and I'm like, Victor Wooten, that's the guy. That's the music teacher. And I had to go immediately. Like, of course.
I hear you. I've Biko Cassini with Rising Appalachia told me about the book, and I'm like, holy smokes! And the audio book, and then Spirit of Music and the audio book, and so I had to get myself down there to Wooten Woods to do an interview with Victor, and everything just kind of changed after that opened up. It's been quite the magic carpet ride.
Yeah.
So that's how you got down there. How did you come to music? And was your family musical? Did your parents play music, or did you play when you were younger? Or all of a sudden it just happened?
So no, I would say I did not know that it was going to be a part of my life. I tried to play guitar when I was 16. My parents were not very musical, and I was always a poet, I was always a writer, and I did sing, but I think I kind of lost my way a little bit in my teenage years, and just with distractions, at that age. And it was when I was on, the search in my 20s, I that we all go through, I think. And I started exploring different things and traveling, and I was living at a retreat that offers plant medicine, and volunteering there, and they had some guitars laying around, and I started playing, and one day it finally clicked. And um I was actually reading another book at the time that's that was all about the great masters in history. It's called Mastery by Robert Greene. And it explained, you're going to be really bad at first at whatever you're doing, but over time you can learn anything, and it just takes consistency and focus. And
Intention.
I knew right there. I said, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do, because it's exactly what my type of. I realized that it's perfect for me. It actually is. It's something that my thought way of thinking and doing things is geared toward. I think a lot of people are like that. And yeah, I was 28 when I finally discovered it, but I'm still young and I still have time, so I'm very feel very blessed and grateful for that.
Yeah, well, I kind of didn't really get hooked by music until I was, I think, 42 or something with the blues harmonica. I'm like, oh, harmonica, right? Golly day, I didn't even think about blues harmonica. And then
Yeah,
guitar recently. Yeah, there's never too late to start up. Was that retreat where you started playing the guitar, was that in the US or was that somewhere else?
that was in the Sacred Valley of Peru.
Mm.
So it's near Cusco, and it's a beautiful place in the mountains, very secluded, right next to a river, and the perfect place to not be distracted and to finally, because it really takes that. It really takes like some quietness to realize
Mhm.
things like that, and yeah, it's very cool.
So your trajectory then after you started playing has been you're you sing and play guitar and you're what are you doing? You're writing songs, you're in bands? How long has that been? What's your the trajectory since you first,
The
you know,
trajectory, yeah, it was just learning the chords, and then one day I wrote my first song, which was came from a poem that I wrote at this same retreat, like 2 years before, even when the first time I ever went to one of these things. um and then little by little, like, the voice started to get better, the playing got better, and after just 7 or 8 months I started to sing in these ceremonies and play songs,
Mm,
which was really good because it's not like on a stage or anything, but
right.
it was really good practice to play live. And yeah, it goes so well with the plant medicine, because it kind of amplifies the music and almost makes you really more connected. So I think it helped me develop very quickly, and
Mm,
a lot of my music is inspired by it. I write a lot about nature, and sometimes use, you know, tribal language and stuff like that. And yeah, now it's been 2.5 years now, and I just recorded my first set of 4 songs, and just
great.
getting started, really. Like it doesn't take much to be able to learn songs and write your own songs. But now I know everything that I don't know, everything that I have to learn, and yeah, there's so much more.
So
And
much.
I
Yeah.
so much more to discover, like about music and songwriting, and how, different ways to play the guitar. Like it's really never ending.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
yeah,
it's totally never ending. I mean,
yeah.
my this is my retirement plan is music, and
Yeah,
not just some of the Planetary Gig Society things, but you could just play guitar and learn for
yeah,
centuries.
yeah.
So yeah, I picked that over golf. I decided much better time spent with the
Right.
guitar and music. Um, so you mentioned the plant medicine a couple times, and so I guess we should kind of talk about that because it was the impetus for me suggesting that we talk a little further. We did have some conversations there at Wooten Woods,
Yeah.
but I'm always thinking about connections with music. And I think I just texted you not that long ago and said, "So do you see connections between music and the plant medicines? And you're like, oh yeah, right, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this would be a good conversation to have. So
Yeah,
could you describe a little bit about
for
plant?
sure. I'm just gonna move over here because there's a giant. Can you hear that big machine out there, or can you guys not hear that?
No, the I think the background noise suppression in Zoom is pretty good.
Ah, is this? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything, honestly. I don't know about all you out there, but I didn't really hear anything. But that's
Well,
good.
I can hear it really loud out there, so I'll just go right here if that's all right.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fine. Yeah, so just to describe a little bit about what is all that about, this plant medicines and ultimately how does it relate to music?
yeah. Well, the plant medicine is like it's becoming a new fad, or it's becoming more well known, I think, in the world. And it's got a lot of um polarization around it, and stigma, I guess, but which I understand. And
Well,
when I first,
a lot of the part of the problem was back in the 70s, 60s, I guess, and Timothy Leary and LSD and all these things, it was kind of a party drug
yeah,
for a lot of people, and it wasn't accompanied necessarily by the ceremonies or it wasn't guided by someone, which
that's very true. Yeah,
reading Michael Pollan's book, for example, Change Your Mind and other information, it's
yeah.
kind of important to treat it as a sacred thing as opposed to just woohoo, we're going out tonight.
I think that's very, very true because some of the bad, more not so pleasant experiences I had with like psilocybin was when I was not like having somebody watch over me and I was out in public or something, and not in the right setting. And in these um in these ayahuasca ceremonies in South America, you feel more safe almost because you have your own little bed, you have somebody watching over you. So for me, I was much more able to relax and connect with myself, and I realized it's because of that, because it's dark, you're in your own world, you don't have to worry about anybody else. And so whatever happens, that somebody is in the back of your mind, somebody's taking care of you.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So I mean, the general term plant medicine, I think of pretty expansively, like orange juice,
yeah,
orange juice.
yeah,
Everything that we have is sort of plant medicine in a way.
yeah, exactly.
But there's, tobacco and marijuana and the mushrooms, and this is ayahuasca you're talking about and other things. But
Yeah.
could you sort of just talk a little bit about them and what they kind of really are?
Yes. For me, they are master healers, and they are they are sentient, and they are like unconditionally loving. And the way they teach is incredibly intelligent and sophisticated, that sometimes it's hard for us to even wrap our minds around it, because um they almost want to lead you to what you're supposed to see, but they don't want to just give it to you. They want you to find it for yourself. Like they really want people to have autonomy, and and we're always looking for like, oh, I just want the answer, I just want the answer. And for me, they're like, the answer. That's what they want to do. Um, so a lot of times they'll show you something that you just know, and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's, of course that's what it is.
Yeah.
um, and you've known your whole life. So yeah, for me they are very special, and it is very, very sacred, like you said. Like we've kind of lost that ritualism in our culture. And when you do these ceremonies, they have a routine, and they express gratitude, they ask for permission, they say prayers. And when you're a part of that, you feel it. You feel like this old history that's like in your DNA, that's a part of your spirit. And yeah, it's very special. It's very special when you really fall into it and commit to it. It's a very special experience.
And I guess all the different plant medicines, and there's peyote and all, really come from the indigenous people, right? I mean, because they've tapped into the plants and the knowledge of the plants going way back,
Yeah.
and developed
Yeah,
these.
I mean, it was growing where they were living, so you're just in nature thousands of years ago. So you're so connected to the trees and the plants around you that you're able to communicate with them.
Mhm.
Um, so a lot of people are like, how did they figure out how to use this stuff? And it's like, well, they were living right next to it. They were part of it. It's like it's it's not that hard to think. Like if you're living somewhere for so long, your home, everything around you. So they became very connected with it. And yeah.
So then the types of ceremonies, and I know you've done quite a few
Yeah.
ceremonies with different plant medicines, but ayahuasca being one. Um, they they're very how is the relationship with music? How does that they tie in together, right?
Yeah, music is always, you know, music is the ceremony. It's what kind of helps the medicine start moving.
Mm,
And in real life, when we listen to music, it helps get our emotions moving. And
right,
we feel something. That's why we love it. And ayahuasca or plant medicine, all of them do the exact same thing. They help us to feel these emotions that we normally don't really feel on a regular basis, or we try not to feel. They help get these energies in your body going, and they both amplify each other. So the plant medicine will make the music feel much more beautiful and intense, and the music will help get the medicine working and moving through your body. And that's why I love both so much, because I think that's what's kind of missing in our culture is just feeling sadness, or feeling your anger, or joy, or gratitude as well. Like to really feel it to the full level. It gets all this trapped energy and lets it free, and really helps you release. And it's actually a really beautiful thing. And that's what I want to do with my music, is to help people feel.
help people feel. Yeah, I guess it gets the emotional pathways or whatever sort of pathways sort of going.
Yeah.
Um, but it is uh, guided, and the ceremonies are guided and they're sacred.
Yeah,
And it's really kind of learning from the plants, which is not something that 10 years ago, if you'd have said something to me like that, I'd say, what do you learn from broccoli? How does that happen?
yeah,
But it's on such a different level. I mean, the plants created essentially a habitable earth in my
exactly. Yeah,
and and Paul Stamets, who's the mushroom guy,
yeah,
I've heard him say many times it's almost like the key to human survival on the planet is, being able to learn from the mushrooms and learn what they have to tell you, because we're a little out of sync maybe, or we're out
yeah,
of connection, maybe out of connection with nature.
yeah. One thing I like to think about sometimes, it's like they provide the air we breathe, the food we eat, the shelter that we use for our houses, and the beauty that we see.
Hmm.
Uh, so they pretty much give us everything. Yeah. And they've been here for a very long time, longer than we have. And if they're alive, obviously. So for us to not think that they have some type of intelligence is kind of crazy when you think about it. And now like science is kind of showing that they communicate with each other like in very very detailed ways, and actually make decisions and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's very very interesting.
So a couple of things I also like to ask about in these conversations are, what have you seen of the power of music, and what can we do to kind of tap into that power to, make a better world? But I'm I asked the questions and you've already answered in a way, but maybe just to put a point on it or something. I mean,
Yeah,
you're for you, the music and the medicines are kind of the same thing in a sense.
they both help me become more free, I guess, in my mind, my body, and my spirit. They help me um express myself and to understand myself. So yeah, they're both go hand in hand. And with music, for myself, it's helped me calm my mind. And I used to have some really unhealthy hobbies, and now it's like if it's the end of the day and there's some downtime, just playing a song or two and messing around is so much better for me. And I've noticed in the last 2.5 years, like just that little difference, instead of being on the phone or watching TV or something, has changed my mental clarity and everything. So I really think music can help you feel more joy, more contentment in your life. If it's just a hobby, like if you just want to learn the piano or learn the guitar a little, and you don't even want to do it as a career, I think it's good for everybody
Yeah.
to maybe try it out. And I've noticed in the plant medicine retreats, at the end of the week, nobody's talking about
Work.
uh yeah, and they don't even talk about the medicine so much. A lot of times they're just like, oh, the music was so beautiful, like the music was amazing. And they're like, oh, I really want to start learning this instrument when I get home. Oh, I want to start singing again. And they realize that they didn't need to figure anything out, that just being present and listening to music and being totally in their senses and enjoying it, that they forgot about their their problems and the things they had to do and all that. Like music outside of plant medicine, that's why we love it, because we just forget about all our little goals and all our little things, you know.
Well,
We just enjoy. So yeah, that's what music can do, I think, for the world, is just bring us together and enjoy being alive. Like, just enjoy
yeah.
being alive.
And from your perspective, the plant medicine just really amplifies that, and to the point
Yeah,
almost just hand in hand.
yeah. It helps me see just that the whole point is just to be with people and enjoy each other's company,
Mhm.
uh, which I think we're forgetting, you know. So hopefully, and but I think I think we will start to remember, because there's like a point where if it gets too far away from that, like we'll reach a tipping point where, like, all right, I gotta go, I gotta be with people again, and I'm done with all this, you know.
Yeah, it's quite a life and society we have. Maybe just the last thing to kind of wrap up, but I don't know how we started talking about all this, but we did. And one of the things that you were mentioning was you'd like a long range to really start some sort of a nonprofit or do some programming or whatever
Yeah,
for younger people to appreciate sooner in their lives.
yeah.
The
I hope to, because I wish I found this when I was 12 or 13, because I think that's also a point where you're starting to wake up to yourself and your desires and your ambition, and that's a point where you can get very lost too, trying to fit in, and that's when you find out about drugs as well, and just trying to fit in with your friends too. You give up maybe something you're passionate about. So I would love to have some type of charity and nonprofit that um, kids can go to somewhere in nature, where they learn about all these ancient rituals, and they learn about music. There's instruments for them to play. There's gardens and trees. There's books about, personal development, like the book Mastery that I read, and just kind of gives them something at that age to expand their mind, and to be a little catalyst for something, that they might be a great artist, they might be a great guitar player, they might be a great um masseuse or bodywork person, and they might find that. So
Yeah, and I can see how people might say, "Gosh, that's pretty young," but of course, people do. I mean, young humans do start on these journeys, and they're out smoking
yeah,
this and that and
yeah,
doing all kinds of crazy thing in their teen years. In the indigenous societies, my understanding is that the rites of passage were not, there's middle school and then high school and then college and whatever, and you take between 12 and 30 to kind of
yeah,
become an adult. It was very quick with some of these ceremonies and rites of passage, and they weren't
yeah,
too young, and they were sort of full-fledged adults when they were in their teen years, and maybe
yeah,
taking a little more ownership or agency over,
yeah.
what they
I
can
know
do
there's
with it.
one tradition in Ecuador where I think when they were 13, they took they took them to a mountain, and they left them on the mountain for like 4 days. And that was like this initiation into adulthood. Might have been 15 or 16, but that's ingrained in their culture, like to do something really challenging when you're at a young age, to kind of show you that, yeah, you can do hard things. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, good luck with that, and I'll try to help out if I can, and maybe
Thank you.
somebody
I would appreciate that.
somebody who listened might have all of a sudden got piqued and have an interest or something.
Yeah.
You never know, but
I don't even know where to start, but I'm just putting it out there, and hopefully it will grow into something like that. And maybe it starts with just donating instruments to kids in need or something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna hope that it manifests.
it sounds great. So,
Yeah.
well, thanks for taking the time to discuss this. I know you have some of your songs on Spotify, Music of the Trees, and some things like that. And it's really synchronicity, in a way that we've started having these conversations, and here we are, just sort of actually putting it out there. And I appreciate it, because I've learned a lot, and your perspective really helps me. And
Yeah.
it's just more out there into the conversation about kind of peace through music and similar
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I really appreciate you asking me to do this. It was very nice to be able to talk about it, actually, and kind of make sense of everything I've gone through. And yeah, hopefully people are able to connect with it, and get some insights, and yeah, I'm a big believer in music and in nature, and plants and trees. So
There you go.
Yeah.
All you need, really, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Marshall, thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Jefferson.
All right.